What is up, folks? Welcome to the latest episode of the Harold McBasketball Show. I am your gracious host, as always, Harold McBasketball, along with my co-host, I know Ball Paul, coming to you live, or I guess possibly not live. You're catching us on YouTube. Coming to the conclusion of Summer League. How are you, Paul? How's your summer going?
Yeah, summer's great. I'm doing well, and I've been tuning in to a bit of Summer League. We're recording this episode, I think, an hour before the final game of Summer League. I think the Grizzlies are taking on the Heat. So I might tune into that, but I don't think ED's playing. I don't think Hackes is playing. Kalel Ware might be playing.
I assume
Um,
so.
should be a good game though. Both teams have obviously been playing really well, but I'm ready to overreact to Summer League. I'm ready to take back everything I said in our official redraft video. Um, I know people say, Well, don't overreact to Summer League. It's only 3, 4, 5 games." Fuck you. I'm going to overreact. I didn't know much about the prospects a month ago. I don't know much more now, but um, opinions have changed, and I will be overreacting and moving things around. So get ready.
Yeah, yeah, me too. I think I saw like a windy quote or something like that, where it's like, if a player's good in summer league, it means they might be good in the NBA or they might not be. But if a player's bad in summer league, that means they're just bad, which I love. So I will definitely be using that to make some of my takes today. Because we definitely had some guys who've stood out and looked really awesome, and there have been some other players who have been a little bit disappointing this summer league. I'd say we can just jump into it. I kind of just want to start with like the top three picks in the draft between like Shepard, Risa Shea, and Sar, because obviously Ricochet went one, but it didn't seem like there was like a super clear number one pick in this draft. I'm gonna take a victory lap already. I think Reed Shepard clearly should have been the first pick, as I said, as a lot of other NBA nerds said as well. You had him too, which was also very solid, a little bit ahead of consensus. But yeah, I think he's like clearly been the best player. And then I think Ricochet has been commendable and still like worthy of being a top pick. And then I think Sar obviously has been just utter trash and like may not be like, this is like a total overreaction, but he totally looks like a James Wiseman where it's like, God, like, does this guy like even finish out his contract for the Wizards? Like, it does not feel like there's a lot going for him at the moment.
Yeah, you summed it up pretty well there. I think with all three, Reed Shepard came in hot, and immediately I
So
was
good.
like, I should have listened to Harry because immediately, I mean, he's the point guard, and he's doing everything. He looks super athletic, and I didn't know that this version of him existed. I guess I wasn't familiar enough with him. And yeah, he looks fucking awesome. There doesn't seem to be anything he can't do. And he can play the point guard, he can be a passer, a finisher, and obviously he's gonna get around the get around the screens and just pull from anywhere. So Reed Shepard looks like he should have gone number one. I'm sure the Wizards are kicking and
Dude,
screaming.
they need a point guard too. Like, I don't know what they were doing.
And the Hawks maybe regret it, but like you said, Ricochet has shown some promise. But yeah, I think Reed Shepard's going to be a very, very good player. And yeah, I should have taken him number one, and I think he's going to be a star in this league. I really do.
Yeah, to heart more on Shepard, because like this really feels like a draft class where, it felt like there wasn't gonna be like a lot of all-stars who come from it. Like maybe no superstars, maybe no all-stars even. Reed Shepard looks like he is someone who's going to make several all-star games in his career. Like a comparison I've seen a lot, and even something that I thought about when watching him is like he just looks a little bit like a smaller version of Devin Booker when he's out there. Like he's absolutely automatic. His shooting form is pristine, and he's like really good at finding his spots in the mid range and then elevating over defenders because he has a super high release, super quick. He jumps a lot on his shot and just has a really nice touch. So it kind of feels like he can just get anywhere on the court, find his spot, and make a good jump shot. And he's got everything else, which was kind of surprising. So we didn't see a ton of it at Kentucky, but like the passing and vision is definitely there. Um, we did see the defensive upside as far as like getting in passing lanes in Kentucky, but that was like immediately translated. He averaged 3 steals per game in summer league, was constantly getting pick sixes where he just jumps in the passing lane and takes it for a layup or dunk on the other end. He's definitely athletic, even though he's like a below the rim player, and he's just ridiculous. Like amazing pick by the Rockets, who now just have like an absolute wealth of young talent on the team. A team that I'm very excited to watch this year. I'm definitely going to go to a lot of Rockets games this year in Houston, but they nailed it. I think Shepherd is like clearly the best player here, and it feels like it's by a pretty big margin right now, I think.
That's yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, like you said, he's had the three steals, I think 22 points, shooting 50% from the field. He's looked great. He's played 4 games, got a ton of minutes in those games. I think he led Summer League in overall minutes. My stats are per 36, I should mention, but yeah, 22 and 3. Um, yeah, he's looked phenomenal. 5 turnovers, but that's kind of whatever. I'm more
Who
than
cares? Who
happy.
cares?
The
It's an
the
eyeball test thing. The eyeball test is just phenomenal. The dude is ridiculous, and he just scores so well.
Yeah, the Rockets have been kind of a fascination of this podcast, and I think they'll continue to be. And I'm excited to watch them. And will he be starting by the end of the year? Is he going to be a bench player? He's obviously really young, and they have a really talented young core. But Cam Whitmore played incredibly next to him, so it'll be interesting.
The bench unit is gonna be super fun because it's essentially gonna be like Shepard, Whitmore, Eason, and Amen Thompson off the bench, and like all just like it's essentially like Reed Shepard with like three massive small forwards, all great lob catchers, all great cutters, all smart players. Like that's gonna be really fun to watch. And then like Steven Adams also probably setting picks from off the bench. Like it's probably gonna be the best bench unit in the NBA this year.
Yeah, the Rockets will continue to be a super fun team, and yeah, looking at their future between Green, between Shepard now, Sangoon, it'll be interesting to see how kind of that all shakes out because there's a lot of young talent. Even Jabari, I'm a big Jabari um advocate. I think he's
I agree.
a future all-star. Um, but anyway, maybe we have given him all
Yeah.
the those as we can.
Yeah. And like we'll have another huge Rocket podcast, I'm sure, before the season kicks off. But yeah, we'll see. They're probably gonna find themselves in a tough spot this season when they're like we know we kind of had to sign Fred VanVleet and he was really good for us. And like Dylan Brooks was a fine signing too. But I think they'll probably have to move off Dylan Brooks like this season. I think that'll probably come like fairly quickly because I think they just have better small forwards on their bench they'd rather play. And like several way better small forwards. And then the Van Fleet one's going to get interesting. It might be something where they keep him till the end of the contract. And then when that's up, Reed Shepard essentially just takes his spot and essentially ends up being like the exact same player.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Rockets are going to be super interesting. Should we talk Ricochet? Do you guys want to hear me try to be optimistic about Ricochet, or do we shit on Sar for a few
Uh,
minutes?
let's go to Ricochet. Let's keep it positive right now. And I think things will still remain that way with Ricochet.
So Ricochet only played 2 games. I think he ended up with quad contusion or some form of injury, which really bummed me out because my hyperfixation was Ricochet from the start of Summer League. I was really probably determined to justify taking him number one, and I've just become a fan of him, and I'm constantly watching highlights of him. But per 36 again, 18 points. I think he shot 40% from the field. Um, I don't know. What are your takeaways there, Harry?
I thought he looked good and like probably like a little bit better than expected with the ball in his hand. Like the jump shot looked good. The efficiency was not good. Like 40% from the floor, 25% from three on like very high volume shooting. It was like eight threes per game. It was only making about two. So like that was a little concerning because like this kind of the big concern is like, he shot really well overseas, but then tapered off big time towards the end of the year where it's like he hit this like massive like 3 month long shooting slump. And people were like, is the shooting real with this guy? Um, and yeah, I looked a little shaky in summer league, but like the form looks good. He hit some impressive ones. He looked pretty good in transition. He looked long, lean, quick out there. So I still like him as like an overall prospect. I think he's still like worthy of like top five pick, maybe even top three. So I don't think like too much has changed for me on my opinion of him, but he hasn't. I didn't see enough to be like, oh shit, like yeah, maybe this guy should have been one. Maybe this guy does like compete with Reed Shepard as a prospect. Like, no, I feel like pretty good about him being a pick in like the 3 to 5 range. But I like him, and I think he's gonna be an interesting fit with the Hawks.
Yeah, I think he looked really good. A lot of the worries are kind of things we talked about before of him being kind of more of a role player, not being kind of an on-ball scorer. seems to be proving true. I mean, he wasn't super aggressive. A lot of his shots came off catches and driving. But I don't know. His shot to me looks great. Super quick release. To me, it looks like Klay Thompson, but I'm not exactly the an expert on the shot. Um, he's such a quick decision maker. I love it. He catches the ball and within an instant, he's taking off, he's doing a step back, or he's after doing that, he'll just pass the rock. And he catches a lot of defenders off guard. He had a pretty nice ankle breaker. Um, and then yeah, he had some really nice highlights, but ultimately the efficiency wasn't great and the aggressiveness wasn't great. But I liked it overall. I was pleasantly maybe not surprised, but I was kind of happy. I feel like he did pretty good overall.
Yeah, forward prospects can be like really hard to evaluate. And like sometimes like you can do your best to evaluate them, but you really don't know how it's going to translate. And I feel like Risochet translated exactly as expected, where it was like the shot looked good, he looked good out there, but like the efficiency was like a little questionable, which is fine because he's young. And then obviously we didn't see like a deep dribble bag or like, some fancy moves to get to the rim. Like we didn't see a lot of that. I saw him break out a step back three every now and then, which was like kind of interesting. It did not go in much, but it was intriguing nonetheless. So I think he's kind of exactly now. He's exactly what we expected. So at this point, we just need to see how he develops. Like, can he figure out the shot a bit more? Maybe he doesn't need to have a bag because, like, you kind of look at someone like Klay Thompson. Like, if you can just be a smart decision maker on the perimeter and make your shots, you can be an all-star without that. And that might be kind of what the Hawks are going for, which would make him a good fit next to Trey. So I think this is still like a fine pick. I'm intrigued to see how he looks during the actual season, but I think we probably need to see a bigger sample size to know more about him.
For sure. I remain quite optimistic, but I think I've kind of maybe grown a bit too attached to him. But um yeah, the quick decision making, sometimes it's like you kind of want him to take his time more and to dribble and but no, he just does like a dribble move and then he's seeing if he has the shot or seeing if he has the lane or passing, but the ball does not is not in his hands for more than a few seconds at a time. He's constantly moving, and again, I think the shot form looks really good and really fast. So I hope that he can kind of find his confidence and just become more aggressive because I think we're seeing a lot of good signs. And he seems kind of like a bit anxious out there, but at the same time, like he knows what he's doing. Like little mistakes, but at the same time, he's like in the right places and making the right decisions. So hopefully with confidence, we'll see him maybe crack the rotation at the end of the year or find some little role in Atlanta and just
I
constantly build on that.
I imagine they instantly start him. Maybe that's like a
Really?
bold assumption for me, but like, yeah, I don't see how you don't immediately start the number one overall pick, especially when like the fit like makes sense. I kind of just like immediately put in the starting lineup as like Trey Young point guard. I think shooting guard is still maybe up in the air. Like maybe they go with Bogdanovich and then like Reese Shea small forward, Jalen Johnson power forward. God, I hope they trade Clint Capella this year, but like Clint Capella or a Congo at center. And I think that's it. I don't know who they would start over Risachet,
I'm
especially
trying,
because it does seem like he's just gonna be at least immediately a good off-ball player for Trey to have.
I'm trying to think if there's anyone we're forgetting on that roster, but yeah, I mean, I know they have like, what's his name, AJ Griffin, and I think they have some other forwards, but
I
yeah,
think they traded Griffin too. I think they got rid of him.
that's possible. We'll have to look into it, but yeah, no, you're probably right that they give him a chance to start, but um, when we get more into our team like episodes and going in depth. Like I like Jalen Johnson so much, and I think I'm gonna ride a bit with the Hawks this year. They might be my
I'm
uh,
I'm with you on that. I think they could be better than expected because I think a lot of people are kind of having them in like not in the playoffs, maybe play in. I'll have to really look at the East to figure out where they are. But I think the roster makes more sense than last year. Like weirdly, like they might be better after getting rid of DeJounte. There's a discussion for later. Let's shit on Alex Sarr. This guy looks terrible.
yeah. Reed Shepard bumped to number one on my redraft. Reese goes to number three. Sar is somewhere in I have him 17th now.
Yeah, I think it's fine. Like after lottery flyer because I think like the appeal is still there of like what the upside can be with his defense and his size and his quickness, his versatility. But like the biggest question the scouts had is like, was this guy just gonna want to settle for bad shots the whole time? And that's all he wants to do. It doesn't really seem like he's got any like dribble back to get to the rim. Doesn't really have a willingness to set picks and roll to the rim and go for dunks. All he wants to do is do dribble, pull up threes, dribble, pull up mid ranges. So inefficient. Like, oh my God. Like, hold on, what do I have his stats here? He was 19% from the field and 12% from three. I forgot how many games he played. He played 4 games. I was on 4 games in Vegas, like big sample size. He was taking 12 shots per game and making 2 of them. Um, that's just not an NBA player. Like that's just not NBA level efficiency. And like this was like the issue that lost. Some scouts were high on him, but like those who are low were essentially like, I don't think the efficiency will ever get there for him to have a consistent role. And that is like immediately what we're seeing. So the alarm bells are like going way off with this guy. Probably too early to be like out on him, but I don't think it's too early to say he was overdrafted and overprojected.
I completely agree. And not to kind of backtrack, I had him sixth in our draft. But I do feel that I would have put him lower if I didn't feel kind of the pressure and feeling like I hadn't done all that much research. I was kind of like, okay, he went to six seems like a good place, but I had huge doubts. And he has confirmed those doubts and surpassed. Like you said, he seems to think he's a guard. He is 7 feet tall and settling for just horrible looks. The defense is okay, but ultimately, the defense is okay. But is he going to be your five, your rim protector? I don't think so. He's more of a chase down artist and kind of, um, getting some nice blocks, but he gets bullied by bigger dudes inside. So yeah, he's looked horrible, and you can say it's an overreaction. He's a young guy, and we know he was drafted more on his potential, but um, looks awful, 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 and he got plenty of run. He was out there
Yeah.
for I
And
think
like the eye test is huge here too, where it's like he's like taking shots where you're like, this just has no chance of going in. And like some of them are open and you're just like, God, like why are you taking this? And like the competition he's played against like hasn't always been great. Like this is probably some of the toughest competition he's played against in a while. And yeah, it just seems like he's not as good as the other guys out there.
yeah,
I will say though, this is my bright side on Sar is that I think he's still interesting, where it's like he is just this like big athletic power forward type who at least has a good looking jump shot. Like I think the
yeah.
jump shot looks good. And I think if that develops, all of a sudden like he is worth like a top 5 pick. So it's like I think the potential is still there, but like yeah, he looks bad. He's not gonna come in and be good. And like his ceiling is probably a lot lower than people had projected. But I think he'll still be a player.
Yeah, I know you're right because there's the fluidity there and like a 7 footer taking those kind of turnaround fadeaways and some of the pull-ups. Like it's impressive in itself, but at the same time, it's horrible, horrible decision making. But not a lot of guys his size can move the way he does at the end of the day, and so maybe there.
Yeah. Yeah. But like the issue is like immediately like, and this is something I said where it's like I feel like recently when it comes to these like highly drafted centers, it's like, it's like they're either Joel Embiid or they're James Wiseman, where it's like you think the jump shot's there and you think they're gonna be a stretch big. And then when the jump shot's not there, it's like, what are you then? Because there are plenty of like guys out there who can get rebounds and block shots. Like that's not like totally a premium, especially when you're not like great at it. Like if you're great at it, like Jared Allen or even like Nick Claxton or something, like you can find a role. But like when that's not exactly what you're drafted for, when you kind of need the offensive upside to make it all work and you don't have it, it's like all of a sudden you're like a backup center at best.
Yeah, no, totally agree. And yeah, we'll have to see where he ends up in his role on the Wizards. I mean, there's plenty of space there on the roster, so he'll get some run, but um, maybe he'll just end up riding the bench with Johnny Davis, their other top pick from 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah, also a historic draft bust. Any more takes on Star? I think we can move on. It might be one of those things where it's like, yeah, we think he looks bad. Probably gonna look bad as a rookie, but let's give it a couple of years. Maybe the jump shot comes along and then he can find a place here. But it's definitely gonna take time. People knew he was a project. Seems like it's gonna be a bigger project than expected, though.
For sure. Yeah. And again, passing on Reed Shepherd, I think is going to be very painful for the.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, especially for a team that doesn't have like the excuse the Hawks had with Trey Young, where they're like, yeah, like we already have the point guard of our future. Like the Wizards need every position, so every player was on the board for the Wizards, and yeah, they got a guy who may not even be a rotational player. So sucks. So move on. We can kind of go crazy, just like let's talk about Castle since he went fourth, and then we can kind of just like shout out some of our favorite guys that we've seen so far. We're both pretty low on Castle. Castle looks really good. I've had Castle move up my board like a little bit. I think I'd probably have him more like two or three at this point. He just looks awesome. Like I think the big concern I had with him going into it was the jump shot. I was like, if this guy can't shoot, then like I don't really see what his role is. And the jump shot still doesn't look great. So I think the jury's still out on him, but he does look incredible. He really only played one game in Vegas, but he looked super good, super confident. He's big, he's aggressive, he handles the ball well, passes smartly, and you can just like tell, like he just like passes the eyeball test. Like he can just like get by people, get what he wants at the rim. He's just a really talented basketball player, and I think it's pretty obvious. So I like Castle a lot now. I'm more bullish on him.
yeah,
I'm still curious to see how the shot comes along. That's still kind of the make or break for me. But I think the upside is huge if he can just get his jump shot like good enough. Like just get it up to like 34, 35% to where they just need to play you a little bit out there and then you're all set.
I agree. Yeah, obviously only in one game, but it was pretty telling in that one game how he kind of conducted the offense and he played really well. Even hit like he hit a pretty deep three. He passed on a couple though, so um, definitely moved up my boards and I went from kind of like he was on this UConn team like it's easy to do what he did, and now I'm like, oh shit, like maybe coming in as a freshman and averaging 12 points on such a deep team is actually really impressive. So flip-flopping hard, of course, that's what I do, but definitely an impressive debut for Mr. Castle. And yeah, the eyeball test, sick name, looks cool.
Unreal name. Like Aura draft, like this guy's like going up there. Like him and
Yeah.
Dillingham are like, top two probably in Aura. And,
But
and yeah, Castle's been really good. I think he's a prospect where, he's a freshman on a stacked team, so we didn't see a ton of him in college. And he was also playing like a different position. Like I think they kind of had him slotting in at like shooting guard, small forward for UConn. He wanted to play point guard. I was like, I don't know how it's gonna work out. I haven't seen him there. But I think all the teams are working him out, got to see him kind of play the point in these private workouts. So I think they got more data than we did when it came to evaluating him. And I think we got to see him more in that kind of role. We would have been a little more bullish on him. But there was just like a lot of his skill set that we just didn't get to see and didn't know that it existed until getting to see him play point guard in summer league. So we've got more data now. I'm more bullish on him. And yeah, we'll see. I like the pick for the Spurs. I think that worked out very nicely.
yeah, I think the Spurs are kind of seem like they're going to be a great fit for him in terms of just playing next to a talent in Wemby, kind of being a smart um, player. Castle seems like kind of the Spurs prototypical player, and I think he's going to be able to crack that rotation and hopefully do some good stuff. They have such a nasty defensive core between Castle, Sohan, and obviously their centerpiece in Mr. Wemby, so that should be awesome.
Yeah, so it's gonna be fun. I think they're gonna be accidentally kind of good next year. Not like great because I think they're gonna try to lose a couple of games here and there, but I think they're essentially going to be a team that can give any team a run for their money any night, just based on their defense and Wembanyama.
Yeah, yeah. We haven't talked, but they added Chris Paul and um they added someone else, I feel, but I forget who. DeMar? No.
No, that was the Kings. No, they did add one more veteran. I think they got Barnes from that trade is what it
Oh yeah, they
was.
think Harrison Barnes.
Yeah, which is like, he's not, he's kind of been shitty the last 2 years, but like on a rebuilding team, I think that's a good veteran to have. And I think he's still a good enough shooter to where that's a valuable guy to have around. So I think the starting lineup may be a little bit weird. I assume they're going to start Castle at maybe he comes off the bench at first behind Chris Paul. Maybe Chris Paul comes off the bench. I don't know. Because Castle obviously wants to play point guard, and then they've got Vassell, who I think is like a pretty true shooting guard. So I don't know how they're gonna do the starting lineup. That'll be interesting, but I'm sure they'll figure it out. The Spurs know what they're doing.
Yeah, and I think Chris Paul's at a point where like 20 minutes is kind of where he's
Yeah.
meant to be. So anyway, we could probably just call out some players and just say, hey, this guy looked great.
Yeah, we're there now. Give me a fun guy. Who's someone you liked or someone you hated? Take your pick. I'm down for either.
I'll start with someone I watched quite a bit, which is Bub Carrington. I think
Bub.
his name is Carlton
It
Carrington.
is. It is. I had that in my notes.
Um, but yeah, he's I don't think he's even 19 years old yet. He went to the University of Pittsburgh. He's someone that was like kind of on my radar, but I had watched some highlights. I wasn't so impressed. Um, but I tuned into a lot of the Wizards Summer League because I was,
Unfortunately.
seeing Sar, and Bub Carrington was a bright spot. Um, he's huge, he's smart, he's aggressive, he's just like a dog. Um,
Yeah, I've got him listed at 6'4" with a 6'8" wingspan, so like very prototypical size and like unreal wingspan for a point guard. And he just like passes the eyeball test with flying colors. I think he's got the cleanest looking jump shot out of anybody in the class, maybe other than Shepard. Shepard has one of the best jump shots of all time. But like Carrington has just like this super smooth jumper that he gets into really easily. It's like it doesn't matter if it's like catch and shoot, if it's off the dribble, if it's off a step back or something. It looks super clean every time, super high release. The efficiency actually like wasn't great in summer league, but the eyeball test was awesome. You could tell, and he's like really crafty. He like plays at a pretty slow pace. He's good at getting defenders on his back. He's not like a gifted passer, but I think he always makes the right pass. And I just think he's a good looking player. I just think he knows what he's doing out there.
yeah, there was
Kind
a
of like I want to give like a quick little comp, which is obviously like I think the ceiling is obviously far lower than this, but like he does remind me a little bit of like SGA early on, where like SGA kind of came in as this like big guard, big wingspan, projected to be, a good defender, but kind of played at like a slower pace. And that kind of feels like Bub when you watch him, just like, big size, plays at his own pace, knows what he's doing, plays really smart. Obviously he's not going to be SGA, but that's kind of the play style.
yeah, and he just seems tough for such a young guy. It seems like he was the leader out there and he was making a lot of great passes. Um, per 36, 18 and a half points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds. I think he shot 40% unless I'm not accounting for a recent game. Only shooting 32% from the field. Um, but there was a moment where he had like a steal at the end of the game. He missed the game-winning jump shot,
Yeah.
but I don't know. He's tenacious. He seems smart. He looks cool, and I think that's definitely a bright spot. After taking Sar at 2, I think this guy looks like he could be um, a top 10 talent, even maybe better. He really impressed me, but um, not super familiar with his game at Pittsburgh. Shot decently. Again, he's huge, and yeah, sick name too, Bub Carrington.
Yeah, awesome name. Yeah, I think you nailed it. I think that's all there really is to say. But he's gonna be a really fun guy to watch for the Wizards, especially because as we alluded to, where it's like where they pass on Shepard is like, wow, they really needed a point guard. That would have been a nice fit. So it would be a nice consolation prize for them if with the mess up there with Shepard and Sar, if they do get the point guard of their future a little bit later at Bub, who was still drafted 14th overall. Like this is still like an end of the lottery pick. So like a top prospect. So I like him too. I think he's very interesting. And just yeah, the intangibles and his size, I think makes him super interesting.
He reminds me maybe of like a Drew Holiday, not in the way he plays, but just kind of being a bigger, more physical guard who can shoot decently. Um, he doesn't seem like an elite shooter, but he shot, I think 34% in college. Shot well here, so that's promising. And he's huge, passer, rebounder. I think that's kind of the way the point guard position is trending. So
Totally. And my final note on it's like although like his 3-point shooting's only been like decent in college and summer league, like I think the shot looks awesome. I think
yeah.
there's like a lot of potential for that jump shot to get really good. So we'll have to see with that, but I think there is solid potential for him to improve there.
Awesome. We have 5 minutes left in this Zoom. We could do it one more quick shout out, maybe.
Yeah, we can do a quick one. We're gonna do a quick one. I'll just go with the guy we've already talked about a lot. Klingon. Klingon has looked really good. He has been as advertised, essentially just gets a million blocks per game, a million rebounds. The offense has not been very good, but that was kind of to be expected. And that's pretty much it. We knew what we were getting with him. He's awesome, great defender, not great on offense. That's fine.
Yeah, weirdly, he attempted a few threes. That was interesting,
Yep.
but
It's summer league. Why not? Why not?
that's weirdly a green flag for me. It's like he doesn't have much to prove. He'll just take some threes. Bricked a few of them. I think he ended up making one or two. I don't know. Um, but like you said, yeah, the defense is elite, and I think it was enough to convince me to move him to two. So now my order is I didn't like really fully do everything, but yeah, Shepard, Klingon, Ricochet, which I think is the
Oh, that
order.
was my that was my top three. That was my top three initially.
I know I got to listen to you more, but the blocks he gets are so emphatic. He covers so much space. He had a chase down block that I think ended up being called a foul, but he covered the entire half court and pinned it off the backboard. And um, yeah, hopefully the offense works itself out sooner rather than later. But I don't know. Seems like a bit of an anomaly that he shot so poorly as such a big dude. I think he was kind of maybe trying some things out or just a bit unlucky. And yeah,
Yeah, and like maybe as like a top pick, the coaching staff felt the need to play through him more than they should. Whereas like his game really should just be like catching lobs or getting the ball down low from the point guard when they're running their sets. Like they shouldn't like be setting up too many plays for him like on the low post. Like that's just like unless you were like Joel Embiid, like no one should really be doing that in this league right now. So I think that's fine. And it's like I my comp has always been Rudy Gobert. If he can be that, that's fine. Like he really doesn't need to average more than like 10 or 12 points per game. And that's all I'd want out of him. Like really like the only thing I'd be like just work on your free throws. Just like that's not like a big issue for us because I think he shot like 55% in college. And that's like all I need from him on offense. The only other bonus is like he has like a decent like passer out of the post. So like they're kind of going to that like a little bit towards the end of summer league, which is like cool to see, and probably something they'll continue to work on. But like and like that'd be like again like a nice to have. Like honestly, like he doesn't really need to give him anything on offense to be an amazing player.
yeah, he did have some nice passes, and I think funny enough, Robert Williams is kind of an interesting comparison. He's much bigger and bulkier than Rob, and Rob is a bit more bouncy, but the passing mixed with kind of the elite shot blocking, I think it's funny. They're teammates now, so yeah, very optimistic about Klingon. I wonder how that rotation will work itself out. Maybe Aiton will end up leaving, but yeah,
Yeah, I think Aiden's on the block. I think we'll see a move. Maybe not this year, but if not this year, I think probably next year or something like that.
and
And then I think it'll make more sense.
Klingon was Summer League second team, so that's pretty good.
Huge. Hell yeah. Love it.
Yeah, as a rookie, I mean, Reed Shepherd and Kalel Ware made the first team as the only rookies, and then Bub Carrington, Klingon made the All NBA Summer League second team. So congratulations.
Huge. Eligible for the rookie max, just like that.
Yeah. All right. Oh, MVP, Jalen Wilson, who I'm not familiar with, but on the Nets. I think he's like
I have
23.
no idea. Yeah, probably. I mean, I saw that like Kevin Knox was playing, who's like a 6 year NBA veteran. So like anybody can still play in summer league. So if you're not like a rookie or a sophomore, I don't really care. And honestly, like most of the sophomores I didn't care about because I was like, I already know you guys are good. Like I already knew like Pajemski and Hawkes and like Brandon Miller was playing. And I'm like, Brandon Miller was like legitimately amazing last year. Like, what are you doing here? So usually the sophomores I don't care too much about.
Yeah, it is funny, kind of some of the people that choose to play, some who don't. But yeah, if you're 25 in summer league, like you should be averaging a lot of points. There's a lot of really young guys out there. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly. All right, cool. Let's get a part two set up for this, and then we'll kind of run through the last of our guys.
sounds good. Be right back.
Yep, let's do it. All right, back for part two. Let's jump into it. We've got a little more time here now, so let's talk about one of my favorite players in this draft, Dalton Connect. He had a slow start to summer league in the games prior to Vegas. I forget where that was played. That might have been played in Utah.
Yeah.
But I have his Vegas stats in front of me, and he was actually really good in Vegas. In Vegas, he averaged 21, 5, and 2. He averaged the second most points per game out of any of the rookies in summer league, and he shot 40% from three. And I think he looked awesome. So I'm still in on Connect if anybody was wondering. He looks awesome. I think he still projects to be like a pretty instant impact player. I think like my only like downsides on him is like, yeah, I think he'll probably like a little bit smaller out there on the NBA court than he did in college, where like in college he looked massive because he's pretty jacked. But on the NBA court, there's a lot of other just like insane athletes out there. So he does kind of like fit in a little bit more. Size wise, I was like, maybe this guy's gonna be more of a shooting guard than a small forward. And like the defense wasn't great, but like the offense like looked really good. The efficiency was good. The shooting was good. And he was just like, yeah, he runs in transition well, can really find his spot in the mid range. And I so far he is as advertised. This is like exactly what I expected out of him. I think he looks great. I think he could start for the Lakers immediately if they're willing to give him the run time. And I'm very excited. I'll be watching a lot of Lakers this year to follow Dalton Connect.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know you were that infatuated by Mr. Connect. But
Oh yeah, is this news?
no, I mean sort of. I knew you had an eye on him, but it seems like you're a fan.
I had him very high in my rankings. I think I had him, let's see. I think I probably had him like seventh or something going into the draft. And I was like very tempted to put him higher. If you remember when we were doing our analysis, I was like, I'm kind of tempted to put him over Ricochet, which I did not do because there is an age difference there. But yeah, I love him. I kind of had him as like my second best small forward in the draft. Um, there might be one other small forward I now have higher than him after seeing Summer League, who we'll talk about later. But yeah, I love Connect. I just think he's awesome. I think he's a good shooter. I think he's got good size. And I just thought he slipped because of his age, and I think that was slightly foolish.
Yeah, he struggled in the Utah Summer League, and I think I sent you a text kind of being like, but I knew he would pick it up a bit, and he definitely did. And like you said, he got his, 24 and a half points per 36, shot 40% on like 8 attempts.
Yeah, you
Um,
let them fly. And like the jump shot like looks so good. I love his form. Really high release. Just like really straight shot. And it's yeah, he's awesome. I love it. He looks great out there.
that being said, I don't know. I'm not I don't know. I think it's the contrarian in me that thinks that he'll just be okay, and I don't think he'll start for the Lakers. And I don't know. He played well, but I don't know. It's the contrarian in me. I still would probably have him in the around 15 with my kind of redraft that I did. Um
What you got him going next to Sar in your redraft right now? Come on.
Doris 17th, Filipowski 16th, but yeah, Dalton Connect. Um I don't know. Maybe it's just the hater in me, but because he's doing everything that we hoped, I guess, but still not a ton of versatility on offense aside from the scoring, which is like, that's what you want. But um, there are some other guys I prefer, and we'll see. We'll see. I tend to think the ceiling is not super high, and that, 15 points a game is maybe that the ceiling for him in the NBA.
That'd be good though. I feel like that was like his kind of like the big thing with him in the draft is like you're just drafting this like very high floor player in a draft that's like filled with mystery. And some people like to go for the mystery box. They're like, wow, this might turn into a 15 point per game score. And I'm like, I just feel like you get that with Connect. But like, I don't think he's like a third star. Like, I don't really see him as like an all-star caliber guy. But I do see him as just like a really good rotation player. A lot of teams are going to want a guy who can start like him, kind of like a Dante DiVincenzo type of guy. And I think there's a ton of value in that. And I think he was a really good pick at 17.
Yeah, no doubt. And he's energetic, he's tough, and he
And he
goes
can
out
shoot. It's
there.
just it's so hard to find shooters with size, and he just got that. It
That's
kind of feels
true.
like it feels very similar to like the Cam Johnson pick, where he was taken like end of the lottery, just as this like tall shooter, and everyone's just like, yeah, there's a good pick. Like he can shoot, like he's still gonna be able to shoot when he goes into the league. Can't have enough shooting small forward, so sure.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's been great.
Yeah. So I love him. I'm very curious to see how he actually like weaves into the Lakers lineup because like certainly there are no guarantees, especially as an older player. Like it is very possible he kind of is just like a bench guy. Um, but I don't know. I'm intrigued to see how he fits because I could see him as like an instant impact kind of guy on a Lakers team that really doesn't have a lot of talent outside of LeBron and AD. So like because like the team just doesn't have a lot of depth and talent, I could see him getting a pretty big role early on.
I'd like to kind of throw a horse in the race and kind of there's a guy that I really like who's also kind of an older guy coming out of college,
Go for it.
Tristan da Silva,
Oh yeah.
out of Colorado, a teammate of Cody Williams. And kind of similar, I think he's like 22, 23, super efficient. But I don't know, his play style is more up my alley. He's just like a good passer as well. Really smooth, kind of plays a bit more of the European style. Um, and
Yeah,
yeah,
who drafted him? Because he went right after Connect, didn't he?
yeah, he went to the Magic, and
Right. Intrigue.
yeah, he's like 6'9", skinny guy, and he's just like really efficient. The shot looks great. He finishes well. Not athletic, but like I don't know. I just he speaks to me, and I think he's going to be like a perfect piece on that Magic team. Kind of an instant rotation guy, like Connect. I think will also be, but I think Tristan will prove to be the better one, and I hope that we can kind of develop a bit of like a horse racing thing and see how they develop over the year.
I'm in on that. I need to you're telling me about De Silva. I was like looking at some of his stats. The stats looked good. I still need to watch his highlights, so I need to see how he looks with the eyeball test. But like 6'9" is very enticing if the jump shot is there. Because that is like better size than Connect brings. Because as I mentioned, like Connect is kind of like fringe. Like, is he actually going to be big enough to like guard small forwards in the league, or is he going to be more of a shooting guard? Whereas like De Silva at 6'9", it's like, yeah, that's like a true wing, like small forward, power forward. Take your pick, depending on if he can hold up on defense. So I will take that away as homework. I will look into De Silva because he does sound intriguing. I agree.
Yeah, 23 years old. He's basically the same exact age as Connect. Shot 40% in college. Um, and I think he shot like 50, I think he shot like 60% from three. Let me fact check that in
There's
the
no
summer
fucking
league.
way that he shot 60% from three in college. There's just
No,
no
it's summer
way.
league. It's summer league.
Okay, that is more plausible, I think.
Yeah, he shot 59%. On let's see how many attempts, but like a few
That's
attempts.
still good. Yeah, that means he's guaranteed to shoot 60% from three in the NBA. This is the best shooter of all time.
Yeah, exactly. And the like 60% from the field. He just looked really good out there. My boy Tristan da Silva.
Yeah. Speaking about overreacting to shooting percentages, uh, your boy McCain, the TikTok guy, this guy sucks. This guy can't make a shot for his life. I do expect that to change. I don't want to like overreact too much to his shooting percentages, but like this guy could not buy a bucket out there for his life.
No, I thought he looked all right. But yeah, the efficiency wasn't great. He started off pretty hot, but um
He
yeah,
shot for summer league, he shot 28% from the field, 28% from three. So very bad.
that is so bad. But he
Yeah.
averaged 19 points, 9 rebounds, I think, per 36 in those
Okay,
three
sure.
games.
But like it was like and it was on 14 shots per game. So like very high volume shooting, and he was making 4 shots per game out of 14. Like just very bad. We'll see. I know Sixers fans
Yeah.
are very excited about him. I don't mean to yuck your yum. And we'll see. It's like I'm not out on him because I do still think he was too good of a shooter in college for like the 3-point shooting not to get better in the league when he's playing a bit more. But yeah, it was not like a super. I don't know. It was not a great start for people who were hoping that he was gonna be like an instant impact guy for the Sixers. All of a sudden, it's like I'm not sure if he's gonna have a big role his rookie year.
For sure. I don't see him as a super high ceiling guy, but I see him as a decently high floor. Um, he's 20 years old, so yeah, maybe the role will come a bit later, but he just seems confident. I still think he's going to end up being a good NBA role player with the shooting and just the decision making. I really like how he plays, so I'm still rooting for Jared McCain.
Yeah, and he's taken at 16, so like it's like expectations shouldn't be like crazy high for a rookie taken at 16. Where they should be higher. This is another guy we can shit on right now. I'm gonna probably need to sub you in for the name pronunciation again, but Tijan Salon, that guy.
I think
Um,
that's how we say it. Tijan Sanon or Sanon. I don't
yeah,
know.
I mean like he's fine, but like it's kind of one of those things where everyone was like, yeah, like we think he's a fine prospect. Like, why are you guys taking him at 6, Charlotte? And then you see him play in the summer league, and we're like, yeah, this was like kind of what we expected out of him. Like he's like fine. He's like pretty scrappy out there, but like you guys drafted him over like some pretty serious prospects. Like they took him over Klingon, which is crazy. Took him over Dillingham, Edie, Cody Williams, Buzelis, who we'll talk about in a second. Buzelis has been amazing. Topic, like
Yeah.
all of these guys fell behind Salon, who was like projected to go like, end of the lottery, like maybe a little outside the lottery. And the Hornets like elected to essentially take him 10 picks early. And I just don't see it. I don't see how they justify this pick.
It sucks because he does show some good signs, but it's like I don't think he ever showed like really that crazy potential. Like it, I don't know. Yeah, I think in my mock draft, I didn't even really have him in my top 15. I said, hey, he's probably just outside of it. Um, I watched some of his highlights. I mean, he monster rebounder. I think he averaged 13 rebounds per 36. He only got like 17 minutes a game, which is kind of lame. Um,
But maybe also says something.
Possibly shot efficiently from the floor outside of the three-point shooting. I think I'm only looking through 3 games, but 1 of 7 from three and 7 of 15 overall.
Yeah, but it's kind of what we expected though. We kind of expected him to be like this like hustle guy, get rebounds, maybe make some defensive plays. Probably not going to turn into a jump shooter or an on-ball kind of player, which is like fine. I think there like is a lot of value in a player like him. I just don't think he's a sixth pick overall, which is like unfortunate now because now we kind of have to hold him to this different standard. Whereas if the Hornets had taken him at like 15 or 16, I'd be like, yep, this is what we thought. This is fair value for where he's being taken. But like this draft, I think has ended up being a lot better than expected. And now it's like seeing some of the guys who went after him, like it's like I just wish you guys were a little more ambitious with this pick. Um, Especially like Klingon still on the board because I just like I thought Klingon was such like an obvious like blue chip prospect. Like I know some of them had question marks, but Klingon just felt like he was obviously going to be very good. And I just like cannot believe the Hornets passed on him for this guy.
Yeah, it's gonna I think go down as a weird draft because I mean for the Tsar and kind of the French invasion that I think is all 3 players are going to prove to have been picked a bit too high. Of course, I still hold out a lot of hope for Risa Shea. Um, but yeah, there was like a lot of freshmen that were averaging like pretty good stats. Some sophomores, you look at Kalel Ware, you look at Bub Carrington, um, Collier. I think I'm saying that wrong. Collier, or who played for USC.
Yeah.
He got picked 29th, and I get the reservations about his game. I'm not like that hype on him either, but pretty good freshman year after being the top high school prospect out of the country. Like, I don't know, there were like a lot of even like Filipowski, like they were averaging green flag numbers in their first and second seasons, and they fell pretty far for um, the guys with the high potential. Um, so yeah, very interesting. And I think we'll see that those later picks are going to prove to maybe be better than a lot of the lottery guys.
Yeah. I wonder if like scouts have kind of just like changed their perception, like where the league is going. So we just like had these really good players who didn't fit the modern day mold where you had like, Isaiah Collier, who is this like really good, like big muscular point guard, but like he doesn't shoot the three well. So like we don't want him. You have Filipowski, who's like he does shoot the three well, but he doesn't seem like super aggressive, doesn't seem like he runs the floor great, doesn't really protect the paint super well. So he falls a ton. We even saw Klingon fall a lot because like he's not like a floor spacing center. And it's like these are just good players. Like just draft the good players. Like don't overcomplicate this. Like don't think that you need to like try to hit a home run on somebody because you think that what they could be fits like the mold of the NBA right now. So you're going to take him over somebody who just seems like the better prospect. Like that's where things get a little dicey. And like Salon might be like a classic example of that, where like maybe the dream is like he can be this like big athletic like stretch four, but it's like that's more of the dream than like the reality of what he is.
Yeah, and stats don't lie. I mean, you can kind of add narratives and stories and whatever to the stats, and sometimes that makes them make sense. But if you're averaging good stats for a good team, that's I think a green flag. Someone like Alex Sarr, who was not averaging great stats for a great team, that's a pretty big red flag. And
For sure.
you know, it's that's that's what it is. But Filipowski, since you mentioned him, he's been awesome. I don't want to spend a ton of time on him, but he's looked awesome. That man has some creative post moves. He shoots it well. I like
Yeah,
Filipowski.
I was always interesting. I had him as like a back end lottery pick. Then I understood like why some teams didn't want to take him there, but like him falling to the second round, I thought was like really weird. And then like after the first game, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe Filipowski's still there. And then like still I forget who had like the first pick of the second round and they didn't even take Filipowski. And I was like, what is going on here? Like just draft this guy. I think he's gonna be good. It's like I don't know what he projects to be. I kind of view him as like a Kelly Olynyk kind of guy, but like There's good value in that. Like if you're talking like outside the lottery, getting like a really good like backup center, like fringe starting center, just draft him. Who
Yeah.
cares? Like
Yeah,
that's awesome value.
I think yeah, not super high ceiling, but I think he could prove to be a good role player. Maybe some other guys I want to list off before we kind of get in depth with guys maybe like Bucelis and Dillingham.
Yeah, go
Um,
for it.
Cody Williams has been super efficient.
Yep.
Kind of eating
As
my
advertised, I would say.
yeah, the eyeball test didn't amaze me in college, but now I'm like, okay, he makes things look pretty easy. Um, Super efficient. Um, he's looks smart. I think the aggression is not great, but whatever. He's
Yep.
fast. He flies down the court. Cody Williams is like surprisingly fast. Um,
Yeah, because he doesn't look like it with the ball in his hands. Because like, I don't think he has like really quick like side to side agility where he's not like crossing people up and like getting a step and getting to the hoop. But like, you get him in transition, you get him on a cut, get him off a screen or something like that. Like the speed is like super legit. He's like this really like tall but wiry small forward, which I like. And then the 3 point jump shot just looks awesome. So
yeah,
that he was a great pick. I love him.
he definitely bumped up my draft board. Kalel Ware, I think we mentioned briefly. He's been incredible. I think he's going to play in that finals, which is starting very soon. The
I'm still not
blocks,
sold on him. I think he looks good, but I'm not all the way there yet with him.
the Christian Wood vibes are there, where you're like, okay,
For sure. Like that is
he's
an
good
awesome
here.
comparison.
It really does because he's still not boxing out. He does
That
make a
sets
lot of
the
his,
worst screens of all time.
yeah, lets it fly at will. But the stats are good, and the
I definitely,
efficiency is good too.
yeah, the potential is definitely there. Like it definitely is like a big shot blocking center with a lot of promise from the 3 point line. And it's like if the Heat can kind of just get him to figure out kind of like the grittier and like less fun parts of the game and being a center, like boxing out and screen setting, if they can just get him to buy into some of that stuff, like this could pan out very nicely. But that has always been like the big knock on his game is like people just don't think he's going to be able to do that. We haven't really seen it yet. But we'll see. It's like I think the upside is still huge for him, and I think at 16 that's still like an awesome pick. Or was it 16? I think it was 16.
I
Sorry, 15.
yeah,
Yeah, he was taken at 15.
probably would
Um,
have taken him closer to 10 now because I think the upside is definitely there. Again, he's 20 years old. But yeah, man, being a center is not fun. It's not glamorous, and you see these guys a lot of times just want to do the glamorous parts, but
Yeah,
hopefully
Sar is the ultimate example of that.
he really is, man. Come on, Sar. Anyway, who should we talk about? We could talk about Ron Holland, Bucelis, Dillingham. Man, there's still a lot of great names. Like this draft class is not as bad as we thought. People like there are some
I think it's
interesting.
yeah, at this point I think it's like as good as any other draft class, but kind of like with that, I think like the ceiling's lower, but I think the depth is awesome. Where it's like I don't like it's not gonna be a draft class where we're like, wow, they're like, 3 to 5 players who are gonna be like all stars by their second season, because obviously like we had the draft like 2 years ago where it was like Bankero won, then Chet, then Jabari, and I think some other guys, and like that draft we just like immediately knew that like a bunch of those guys were gonna be all stars. Whereas like, it doesn't feel like it's like super, you know, heavy and touted with all stars at the top of the draft, but like it feels like it's as deep as any other draft. So I think Buzelis is a good one to talk about because I think he fell to 11, yeah, to the Bulls. He's looked incredible. He's like legitimately looked like one of the best players in this draft, and like in hindsight, like I think he legitimately feels like he could have been a top 5 pick. Because he's huge, he's athletic. The jump shot like looks good. The efficiency was not good for the ignite, but it's not good for anybody, as we kind of alluded to when we were doing our pre-draft rankings. I think he looks awesome. Like I think of us like talking about small forwards. Like I think Reese Shea would still be the first small forward I take, but I think like Buzelis would like pretty easily be the second, and I would even like consider him over Reese Shea because I like really like what I've seen, and he's so surprisingly athletic. Like he is like ridiculously athletic for just like a white dude.
Yeah, there was that clip where they threw him a really low pass and he turned it into a lob, and it felt like a moment of like, okay, damn, this kid might have something special. But that being said, the efficiency hasn't been great, and I still am very confused by Buzelis and where he can find a role, but it's like that you see the glimpses of potential stardom. Like he looks he had some nasty posters, some nasty blocks, that alley oop, and he's doing dribble moves. It's like I don't
Yeah,
know. I
shot looks
make him
good.
zealous.
I don't know, but it's like I think it's one of those things where it's like you just watch him playing, you're like, this guy's good. Just take him and figure it out. So it's like there is gonna be some figuring out, like, is he gonna play small forward, power forward? What does his role look like? Like, is he a point forward? Is he like playing off of people? Is he maybe even setting screens to catch lobs? Like, how do you use him? But he's gonna be like an awesome help defender. I love the idea of him playing power forward. I think that would be really cool. And then I think, yeah, you probably just like spot him up on like the 3 point line, get creative with him with how you use him on offense. And I think he'll be an impact guy like pretty quickly, especially as the Bulls are rebuilding. Like I could see him starting immediately for this team. And then like who knows, like as things go on, like I think he could turn into like a pretty good scorer.
Yeah. No, I mean the raw potential is certainly there. And I agree that you draft for that over role and fit, but yeah, being the power forward because he's not as nimble as kind of your prototypical wing perimeter player. Like he is kind of bulky, a little bit awkward, stupid athletic, but yeah, he's not, I don't know. He's definitely not like a wing. He's more of a forward and there's efficiency troubles on the perimeters potentially. So it'll be interesting what kind of role he ends up getting. And it feels like to be a power forward, you kind of have to be like really offensively good, or it's like B3 and D. I don't know. It's like that kind of it's tough to be kind of in the middle there of
Yeah, for sure. But they're like some Swiss Army knives who can like break the mold in the league. And like I think Draymond is an example where it's
yeah.
like he's just like smart enough on offense with his passing and good enough on defense to where like it works out fine. He's a great player. And I think Buzel's like shot blocking as a help guy is gonna be like awesome to have. And then you get him running in transition, and then you get creative with him on offense. And I think he's gonna figure out the jump shot. I think the jump shot is gonna be there to where it's like not only he can be like a 3 and D guy, but I think he can give you like a little bit more than that on offense too.
Yeah, I'm rooting for him and I've seen some interviews and he seems motivated and um again, the glimpses of greatness. I really do think he has potential to be an incredibly good player. But yeah, a lot of questions at the same time of fit and the efficiency and but yeah, I would have
Yeah.
drafted him a lot higher. That's for sure. Probably
Yep.
close to top five.
Yeah, and like the glimpse of like, and like not only like glimpses, but some like full games. Like I think there was a full game where he dropped like 28 or something like that, and like the entire game he just dominated everywhere. Like blocks, rebounds, hit a bunch of threes that game, sick dunks, sick poster at the end of it. Like I don't know. I'm a big fan. Let's talk about his teammate Ron Holland, who has looked pretty good, I think. I don't know if I have like a ton to say about Holland. I think he's pretty much also a guy who's been like as advertised, where it's like, he looks really athletic. He's pretty crafty with the ball in his hand. Like he can definitely like break out some dribble moves. Sick in transition. Obviously, he's just a ridiculous athlete. The defense looks good. The efficiency's terrible. Like the jump shot, it like looks pretty much non-existent right now, which is like the big concern. Um, but yeah, I think he's like as advertised. But I think the jump shot still scares me because if that doesn't come along, then I don't know totally what you do with him.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add to that because that is what it is, and he progressively got better through summer league. The three never really found its way, but he has a nasty crossover. He's so quick. Um, he fights through contact at the rim and finishes some tough ones. Um, yeah, I tend to be optimistic about Ron Holland. Like I think there are some glimpses of maybe Jalen Brown, but Jalen is so much more surgical and crafty. Ron Holland is more of not a bowling ball. I mean, he's smooth, but yeah, it's kind of hard to know if this is going to be a Josh Jackson or if there's some more there. But I think the potential's high because that crossover is really nice, really quick, and he is explosive as fuck. So
Yeah, it's a crazy thing. Like I think he's either a bust or I think he's an all-star, and I don't think there's any in between. Because I think he either figures out the 3 point shooting to where he's then just instantly an all-star, like immediately just like a Paul George type of guy with like super clean handle, super athletic, and they can also knock down the jump shots, or he can't figure out the jump shot, and then you see it all the time with these like big wings where it's like, yeah, they're athletic, but if they can't shoot, they can't really get the playing time in the league. So It's going to be one or the other. I don't really know. I think I also tend to be optimistic, and I understand the pick for the Pistons, like because of how high his ceiling is if that jump shot comes along. Um, but it is interesting, kind of like looking at him and Buzelis, because I think I would rather have Buzelis at this point. But I think both are still worthy of being pretty high picks because the upside is like very obvious when you watch them.
Yeah, they definitely have some of the highest upside, I think, in this draft. Um, Man, the Pistons are gonna have some poor shooting nights, I think, between Asar,
Dude.
Cade,
Oh yeah.
and Holland. But I think there is reason to be optimistic there for Detroit fans. And yeah, hopefully Holland works out. I mean, he scored well in the summer league, and that's not easy to do. I think he's 19 and a few months, so there's definitely reason to be optimistic.
Yeah, yeah. The Pistons are definitely gonna be a brutal watch this year, but they're doing this the right way. You just gotta keep sucking, keep picking high. At some point, the lottery will work in your favor, or one of these guys will break out at some point. But we'll see. I mean, at least they have Tobias now, who's like he can shoot a little bit at least. Cool. Yep. Who else we have on here? I think the last big guy I have to talk about is Dillingham.
Same,
Kind of
yeah.
a weird one where it's like his stats like don't totally jump out at me. I think he averaged like 13 points per game on like not very good efficiency, but passes the eyeball test. Like I think he still looks incredible. So I don't really care. They're like certain guys that I'm willing to throw out the stat sheet and just be like, this guy looks incredible when I watch them. Dillingham is one of them, where it's like the jump shot looks really good. He's so fast. Like he just loses people on offense. The passing is better than expected too, because I think he was kind of like reading that Kentucky offense, where it's like, they're younger guys, so they're not really being there's not the opportunity to like fully take over the offense and do all like the lead passing. But Dillingham showed potential there. The jump shot looks super clean. I love him as a prospect. He's definitely still small. Um,
Looks very
but I
small.
don't know. I don't know. I'm still in. He looks very small out there. Like I do think I mean like of course like he'll start off six man for the Grizzlies or sorry for the T Wolves, which I think is like perfect spot for him. I think he'll be immediately like an instant impact player in that kind of role. We'll kind of have to see if he can ever just like put on enough weight or just like have enough value on offense to be a starting point guard for this team. But I still like him. I still like him. I don't really know what to say, but I just like it. I just watch him and I think he looks awesome.
He does, yeah. But yeah, no, I do worry his archetype, kind of the undersized, explosive scorers, is kind of a genre we're kind of seeing fade out. Um, yeah, I don't know. Boomer bust, I think for sure.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not super hot on him, but I remind myself of his efficiency in college and just how shifty and smooth he is. So
Yeah. Really athletic too. Like he throws down some incredible dunks for his size. So I still tend to be like more bullish than pessimistic on him, but I do think he might also be in like a similar spot as Holland, where it's like he's either gonna be like Bones Highland or he can be like I don't even know. You're right though. There are not a lot of like undersized guards in this league. Maybe like Lou Williams or something like that. Like maybe
Isaiah
that kind
Thomas,
of player.
I guess.
Maybe. Um, we'll see though. I kind of just like see the talent when he's out there though, and I think he's gonna be an impactful player.
Yeah, hopefully he can make an impact quickly. Um, Maybe Edie, he got injured pretty quick, but he looked as advertised. All right, I think he's going to come in and have a role there for Memphis, who I think is going to be an awesome team, to be honest. But we'll get into
Yeah.
that.
Do you think they're gonna start him at center? Like, I kind of tend to think
Yeah,
they are gonna start him at center, which is like pretty sick. I'm like excited to see that if they do it.
yeah, Jaren and Edie and who else do they have? I guess I don't.
They trade Adams to where it's like they really just have like a black hole at center this offseason. They draft Edie, older player, big center, seems to like fit that Steven Adams role like really nicely, where he can just set big aggressive screens for John. The offense can feed off of that. And the post hook is still obviously there for Edie. I don't think that's ever gonna go away. So I remain like very bullish on Edie and like I'm super excited to watch the Grizzlies because weirdly, part of me thinks like he could just be like sick in the league. Like he could just be like a Jalen Brunson, where it's like, yeah, this guy dominated college for a reason. He's just a really good player.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a good NBA player. I really do. I don't know how high that ceiling is. Um, but he went head to head with Walker Kessler, I think, in one of the Utah Summer League games, and Edie got the best of him. Edie is I don't know. He knows how to impact a game. He had a game tying shot.
Yep.
Um, and I
No,
think
no
John
one can
Morant,
box. No one can box him out too. He's like 300 pounds. Like he just gets on the offensive board.
and he sets good screens. I feel like something I've been
Oh,
looking at
incredible.
is like some guys really like Walker Kessler sets horrible screens. Not to call him out, he does a lot of things well. Cannot set a screen to save his life. Edie is going to immediately be one of the best screen setters. Similar to Adams, he's going to clear out massive lanes for John Morant, um, who's definitely going to take advantage of that. But obviously, a guy of his size will come with kind of its unique challenges, and but the Grizzlies have some really nice, Jaren Jackson, Aldama. They have some. Um, I don't know who else they have off the top of my head at the big guys, but they'll have some room there to have some cool rotations, I think.
I could weirdly see him being rookie of the year. And like
Yeah,
a big part of that is like not a ton of these guys are gonna have like an immediate route to playing. Whereas like Reese Shea is obviously gonna be like an off-ball guy for Trey. Sarr's just not good. Shepard is gonna come off the bench. A lot of these guys are gonna come off the bench. And it seems like Edie might just immediately start. He's gonna be older. He's gonna have an instant impact. I'm kind of like just like looking at the draft board right now. I'm like, I don't really know who I would have favored over him for rookie of the year. Like I think Buzelis might also be somebody who gets an instant role, but
I
I don't
think,
know, dude. I don't know.
yeah, no, and he's gonna swallow rebounds and blocks. Yeah, no, Edie is someone. Check the tape. I said last episode, I think, is the favorite to win Rookie of the Year. I think Bub Carrington will find a nice role in Washington. Alex Sarr, if you want to figure it out really quickly, you'll have plenty. You'll have the opportunity there. But
Yeah,
that's
after draft night, Sar was the favorite, and I'm looking at the Vegas odds right now, and it's top odds are Zach Edey. So there you go. And then right behind him, it's Shepard, then Risa Shea, Buzelis, Connect, Sar, Castle, Holland, Dillingham, and then so on.
Castle's a
Yeah,
good.
yeah, for sure. Castle definitely is going to have an opportunity to be there. I think Buzelis makes sense. I think Edie makes a lot of sense too. Um, and yeah, kind of as you mentioned, like Sar is going to have all the opportunity in the world for it to be him. But yeah, from what I've seen so far, I would not put money on that. That would not be my recommendation.
Bub Carrington. I have my eye on Bub Carrington. I really like what I see, and just being one of the youngest players coming in with that kind of energy and toughness, and being efficient and huge. I like Bub Carrington. I hope this ages well. Bub Carrington, baby.
I'm also a fan. He was next. Like right when I stopped listing out players, the next one was Carlton Carrington. So it was him. He was right after Dillingham as far as rookie of the year odds go. Um, yeah, the too early prediction, I guess, is gonna be Edie for me. It lines up with Vegas too, so I guess that's the favorite. And if I had to pick like a second choice, I think I'd go with Buzelis because I think the role will just be there for him.
Yeah. Yeah. Buzelis. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Yeah, see shades of almost like a pseudo Giannis. I know that sounds crazy, but there's a little
Yeah,
bit of
because like yeah, he's such a Swiss Army knife guy. Like it doesn't seem like it seems like no matter what, he's not gonna have like a regular role on an offense. Like if he hits, he's gonna be a very unique Swiss Army knife type player that doesn't really fit a standard mold. That's what it seems like, which is very
yeah.
exciting for Bulls fans, especially because they need something to be excited about after being the epitome of mid for the last God decade plus. I don't know.
Yeah,
Pretty
it's
much since Derrick Rose tore his ACL.
but no, I like what you said there. Yeah, I feel like he doesn't really fit a mold, so it's going to be interesting to see what he can do for himself because he's going to be a unique player. And the unique players, they end up working out a lot of times with their unorthodox ways.
I think so too. Cool. Let's wrap. We should have said this at the start, but if any of you have a good pick for rookie of the year, please comment it down below.
Oh
Let
yeah.
us know who your pick is. Get creative or don't. Also pick Edie. Go for it. Do whatever. But let us know because it's gonna be an interesting draft. So I'm curious what y'all are thinking about rookie of the year.
Yeah, fuck, we were trying to do more engagement early in the video, but guys, come on, comment, please.
Yeah.
We think it's good for the algorithm. Um, I don't know.
And
I'm
it's
just
fun
gonna,
because we can comment back to you guys and roast your picks if we don't like them.
yeah, like we'll answer your thing, you know. There was a hate comment. I not I answered him cordially. I was like, young man, like you're so right, bro. Like good shit. I could tell he was, a younger kid. I forget what he said. He was in Knicks.
Yeah, yeah. Per usual, classic New York fans. We love the engagement anyway, though. Feel free to leave hate comments too if you'd like to. We're also a big fan of those. So take your pick.
Um, I just want to say on the record, Scottie Pippen Jr. has been so electric. He's someone that in fantasy would always pop off when he got the very occasional starts in that Grizzlies shitstorm, but he just never ended up getting like, I don't know, they never really gave him the role, even with the completely lacking depth, but he's been like a walking triple double in summer league. I think he's going to lead the Grizzlies to the title there.
Hang
Love
the banner.
hang the banner. Um, Jalen Tyson, Bobby Clintman have also been some rookies that have looked really good. Um, I don't know. I don't want to get too into them, but I just want to say their names so that I can look back and be like, okay, at least I said their names.
Yeah, yeah. We can go back and take credit for them, even if they were just mentioned in a sentence with other players.
Nadir Heafy, he's this undersized guard. I think he's a sophomore, but has also looked good in
God.
summer league.
Is this where we're kind of getting into your Sasha Vezenkov picks? RIP. My condolences.
Man, Sasha just sign him Celtics. Like he's better than Sam Hauser's bitch ass. Like just kidding.
How dare you?
He's
Hauser's amazing.
a champion, but yeah, Sasha Vezenkov, man, somebody sign him, man. That's EuroLeague MVP. That's not nothing, man. But
Oh
whatever.
my God. Oh my God.
Wrap
All
it
right.
up.
It's clearly time to wrap up the podcast now they're talking about Sasha Vezenkov. Any more shout outs, Paul, before we wrap this?
No, I don't have time anyway.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in. It's been another episode of the Harold McBasketball Show. Thank you all. Make sure to like and subscribe, comment below. And yeah, peace and love.
Peace and love. Yeah, if you're not overreacting to summer league, you're doing it wrong. Fuck you guys who say you shouldn't overreact.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The redrafts have been electric.
All right. Bye, guys.